Zummies. Okay, it's starting, Luke. This is the beginning of it. Fuck me. Jesus Christ, I need to fix this cord.
Is that part of your intro?
That is
Jesus
the
Christ,
intro right there. That's exactly what that is.
Nice. Goes
All right.
along well with your coexist sticker.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Jesus Christ.
Fuck me.
What's
what
the Jesus Christ version? What's the Muslim version of Jesus Christ?
Very similar to the Christian version of Jesus Christ.
Allah. You just say it with a bad tone.
No. They still believe in Jesus, just a different God.
Do they?
Yes.
Is it like do they like feed like what did Christianity come before Muslim, or did Muslim come before Christianity?
Technically Islam came after Christianity.
I sound like an idiot Muslim. Jesus Christ.
That's okay.
I'm uncultured. Okay, well, here, let's introduce myself. Let's introduce ourselves. My name's Evan Stolpmann. This is probably, I think this will be episode 9 of the fucking can opener. You just chug that coffee. You want to introduce yourself, young man?
Yes, sir. Luke Armstrong here. Second podcast ever, and I'm pretty excited to be on episode 9.
I think it's going to be episode 9. I don't know. Another Muskoka native.
Yes, sir.
So, what do you do, Luke?
Well, part-time student, and I saw some discs.
Part-time student?
Yeah. As of this semester, I'm trying to boost some grades to get in for higher GPA acceptance for masters.
So, what do you mean part-time student?
So only 3 courses.
Why?
As opposed to 5.
Why?
To boost grades for entry after I'm done my BA.
So, it's gonna take longer to finish your...
Either 5 years as opposed to 4, or 4 and a busy summer.
Okay, so you do a summer semester?
That or another year.
So you're doing only 3 courses to try to get higher grades?
Higher grades and also play sports.
Okay, true.
And enjoy a bit of volleyball. In first and second year, I didn't really do much. Like, I'd hang out with you guys, but I didn't see much of the city.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of resent. It was like, man, Ottawa sucks. Because, it's kind of miserable if you...
Hey, you gotta make sure you're talking.
Yeah, it's kind of miserable unless you're...
Here, wait, now let me give you a tutorial.
Taking the most out of the city.
Okay, so you gotta see that moo gig? No, see the moo gig letters at the front of the mic? You gotta talk into that. So don't talk into the top, but talk into the front of it.
Okay.
And you can lift it too.
I thought I sounded okay.
Yeah, no, it'll sound different though because you can still hear your voice.
Higher quality in the front where the label is.
You might want to move your chair that way. You know what I'm saying? Scooch that way.
I'll just move the so it's a bit closer for my face. Is that better?
Yeah, but you don't want to have to go forward every time you talk. You know what I'm saying?
I like to lean in when I'm speaking.
Okay, you do you. So a Bachelor of Arts in what?
Global and International Studies and specialization in global politics.
So that's, a specialization in global politics?
Yep.
So what does that mean? Is that your major? So
technically it's 2 majors, political science and then also global and international studies.
True.
The specialization is the political science part, but they twist it so it's global.
So what's the difference between that and poli-sci?
Poli-sci, you focus more on the foundation and philosophical basis for political science, whereas we just do a global twist or humanitarian aid or recent events or
So
economics.
It's not totally political, quote unquote, right? It would be more of a international study.
Yeah, so the course is Global International Studies, and then I take political science courses that political science majors would also take.
True.
So it's interdisciplinary is what they say.
So what inspired you to do that?
Well, A few
You're not allowed
things.
to yawn in the fucking mic.
Well, there's a few
We gotta
things.
come at this with high energy.
I'm relaxed. I just, tea, it
You
cools you
just
down.
chugged a coffee. Part of a coffee.
Chug the
Okay,
part
yeah.
of the
So what
coffee.
inspired that?
Events, and more so, I realized I was good at writing.
So, what are your goals then coming out of this?
In terms of career, or just like in my life.
Well, what do you want to do? What's your this is it. This is the starting point, right? This is like how school is the jump start to what you want to do, right? So it doesn't have to be your career,
Yeah.
so say, but what do you want this education to help you with?
Combat dangerous ideas and question myself.
It's interesting.
Because I'm still young, and people at school, they like to say, well, I'm a Marxist, or I'm conservative, and I think you're very right in the way you say, like, you don't have to label yourself or like always compartmentalize yourself.
Yeah.
I'm still free in terms of the way I view the world, I think, because I'm still questioning who I am, and like I'm still learning. I haven't established like a independent way of living yet. Like I'm still a student too, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not real life. People like sort of cater to who you are as a student sometimes,
What do you mean?
I get loans, or like, you know what I mean?
Okay,
Like
yeah, true.
different sleep schedule. Like I'm not expected to work as much by my
Yeah.
boss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
So, you're saying you're still figuring it out. You're still young. You don't have this independent, this mindset that you've figured out. Do you think you'll ever figure that out in life?
who knows? That's sort of like what a lot of people go through the whole life figuring out.
Do you think it? 'Cause I think about this a lot too. It's like, do you think that is really important to be unapologetic with your views, or still just have, finding that balance between, having that independent and very focused thought and really concrete mindset, or are you always going to keep figuring out who you are?
I think somewhere like in between the two, right? Like, because you got to have a goal, and you have to have a head point, like a North Star, somewhere you're headed towards. But at the same time, you want to be flexible and realize, like, okay, maybe if I want to be creative or change some things up in my life, I can do that. But
So
in terms of like career,
yeah.
I want to teach English somewhere. I think it'd be valuable just to like learn my own language and help someone else learn it, but in the same time take in someone else's culture, like try and be somewhere else.
So
in the
you'd
world.
want to do like teach ESL?
ESL, yeah.
My mom's doing that right now. Did you know that?
It doesn't surprise me. She's probably a patient teacher.
Yeah. Did you know that though?
No, didn't know.
Oh, true. Because she just started school September.
September. Oh,
Yeah, she literally just started come last year or whatever.
I'll have to hit up your mom.
literally though, talk to her about it. Because if you say you want to do your masters,
Masters or something.
would that? Sorry, masters are like
Something, yeah.
a forward school. So would you plan to teach ESL after you got your masters? Would you do more school to do ESL, or can you get like an English as a second language teaching job somewhere else?
I can do that after I have my BA.
Okay, true. You know what's crazy? So this flatbed tonight fucking thing right here. So these motherfuckers, Chris Hawes and Kristen Hawes. So I'm doing this like late night talk show on the back of a flatbed in Ottawa. It's a pretty interesting experience. But I'd been talking to them, and they're super interesting people. And they went and they taught in Japan when they were 22 and 24 years old. And they didn't have any credentials. Is that a possible opportunity for us to do now, or has like the economic times changed?
Japan was a hotspot, yeah. Like when I mentioned ESL, like I had to go to, like, I didn't have to, but I went to fairs or like event booths to get some information, because I didn't want to be completely blind. I haven't set it out. Like I'm not like, oh, I'm going here, I'm going to stay here. I don't have it all set out, but I went to some fairs to like figure out what I might want to do. And they said Japan was like one of the highest paying or like most receptive places to go.
That's very interesting. It's interesting because like not third world country, right? It's very developed.
super developed. Yeah, they're very advanced.
Maybe even more developed than us.
Pretty big world for the young Muskoka boy.
No, literally, the motherfuckers.
Tall buildings in Tokyo.
That'd be super interesting. I definitely want to travel. But you were saying something. You said that you found out you were good at writing. So would that lead you to want to make like opinion articles and be like a journalist sort of, or was that like more geared towards your English as a second language?
Well, I think the English as a second language would strengthen like my English skills, which English is like the most dominant in terms of business and like socio-political language.
What about Mandarin?
It's common for like social use and business use in East Asia.
Yeah.
But in the global sense, English is still dominant. Whether that will change by the time I'm on my journey or established somewhere, who knows? Maybe I'll learn Mandarin, but you never know. So yeah, bolster my strength in English, and then maybe opinions, or you sort of have to take what you get as you go in some sense, but
which means you just gotta like go with the flow and just walk into doors that are open as they come at you.
Yeah, so like I said, I do have a general North Star. Like after teaching ESL, like hopefully I could save up some money, put some aside, and again reinvest in myself like I have with loans in this period of my life, like student loans, OSAP, that goes. That's investing in yourself. And so I think traveling and teaching English somewhere, again, is an investment in myself where I have to put in the work.
Yeah.
And that will pay off in the future, I hope. But in what ways, I don't know.
True. Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. I'm like plagued by my laser focus. Because I feel like every single time in my life, it's like I want something, I'm going to like look at it and I'm going to fucking go for that. But then I miss all these doors that are open that lead me to different opportunities. And it's getting better, right? Because I'm noticing myself. But what do you think about like long-term goals and short-term goals?
I think it's important to have both. But there's ideals that you want to have. Like I want to have a family and like sort of a stable life. That's a good ultimate goal.
Yeah,
but that's sort of abstract.
Like what do you mean abstract?
Like I don't know the specifics of those, right? Like where I want to live, who my wife will be, or whatever. Like what my life's gonna be like. Well, maybe I'll have many wives. I don't know.
What is that called?
Like what can happen, right?
Polygamy,
yeah, as opposed to monogamy.
Monogamy is not natural, bro. We're not supposed to be fucking one pussy for the entire life.
That's debatable, but perhaps maybe we'll get into that.
I'll look back and see where it ends up.
In terms of short term, you gotta smell the roses. You gotta look around. You gotta take what's in front of you. Something I spoke with to a friend. Spoke about with a friend today.
What was that conversation about?
It was about like realizing what's in front of you to achieve abundance, or get those dreams actualized.
So what does that mean?
Sometimes you make the right decision in a few sequences. You do the right thing, you put in enough work.
But how is that relevant to smelling the roses?
Okay, yeah. So you put in enough work, you do the right thing, you get yourself on a good track, a good trajectory, and eventually the universe will send you something that is essential to you reaching the next level. Yeah. You have to see those doors opening, like you said earlier.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking about.
And we're young, so that's a skill you got to learn.
You gotta really like stop and like look all around you.
You gotta be aware,
Yeah, 100%. Because that's why I feel like that. Like I said, that's what plagued me for the past. Because like I didn't stop and think about. I didn't stop and look around. Like I'm just like, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm getting. I'm gonna go this way, and that's it. Until it changed. It did change like a year ago. You know what I mean? I never thought I would want to do a podcast, but then like I stopped for a second. I realized I enjoyed it, and be like, why not? Just do it. It's just fun. And then that got me that job at that podcast studio. And then that's another door open that I wouldn't have seen if I stuck with my path I was going down before.
Yeah, you mentioned I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be fun. Like, did it feel right in that moment? Because it was you having fun and it just passion, right?
Yeah,
and that's what can drive you sometimes.
I feel like that's the only way.
I know you said that to me before. Actually, your passion is the only thing that seriously drives you, and I think that's true to a certain extent.
Is there any way to be quote unquote successful in anything without having that passion and that resilience within a certain subject? Did I say?
Yep, I think you're right.
The only way to reach that highest level.
Yeah, to achieve a superior abundance. Yeah.
It's the only way I believe, and I mean we have the opportunity now to do that. That's what people don't understand, I think, in our culture.
A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah. We have everything. We have the internet. Think how crazy the internet is, dude.
Yeah, we have the internet, but we also have a lot of obstacles too as people in our culture, right? Like
explain.
Social dynamics have sort of shifted in terms of how we communicate as a community. Mm-hmm. Like the internet has sort of, theoretically, you can stay in your home and still be a well-connected
extremely
person, right?
Yeah.
So social connections have sort of become hyperactive, but at the same time, many things have become hyperactive. So the chance to strive or reach the next level again is definitely there. But at the same time, there are obstacles because of this hyperactivity.
So there's a lack of patience?
Sometimes, but for example, information, if you think about in high school, like gossip example can change or spread much quicker because of this hyperactivity. That's sort of a pessimistic view of the hyperactivity. I'm just giving you a flip side, because the benefit is like we can connect quicker, and the other side is, shit can happen.
Yeah, the world is pessimistic. There's always an optimistic and pessimistic side, and you can't avoid the pessimistic side because that's real too.
You're right.
Fucking, you know what pisses me off? Having a phone, because you know what? I hate texting. I hate it with a passion. I'd love to just call someone and, lay out the plan there, 30 seconds. We do what we got to do. We communicate, but I don't like everyone having access to me 24/7.
So is it the speaking? You like the speaking more, and also you don't like the fact that it's recorded or archived? No,
I don't like the fact that, before...
Is it both?
No, I don't give a shit about archive. I don't give a shit. I'm not paranoid about that shit.
Okay. I thought you were going with...
No, I'm pissed off about back in the day before you had cell phones, you'd have to come knock on my door or whatever. Everybody you text me and you expect me to... I'm not talking about you.
Yeah, just you, hypothetical, yeah. Well, it happens. It happens,
yeah, it happens. But whoever you is... there's expectations that I am going to respond to you instantly, because I always have my phone. Everyone has their phones. And it's I don't even want to touch it. Everyone has access to you instantly. And it's God, it pisses me off. So I don't want to answer your text right now, but there's expectation too, because I have my phone.
Yeah, there's a very wise man on YouTube that I watch, and he says sometimes you can't always exert your energy. You can't always be projecting, right? Because sometimes you got to retain what's going on in you. You have to be creative and do your own thing, create and work on yourself. And that's sort of disconnecting from your phone, right? That's sort of a way you do it. You say, okay, outside world, I can do my own thing for a couple hours. And, a couple hours sounds, for some people, it sounds like a huge sacrifice throughout their day. 2 hours away from my phone. What?
No, it's crazy.
But if you ask our great-grandparents, that's something they'd say, what are you doing on your phone this whole time? You know what I mean?
No, literally, it's such a different...
So yeah, the social dilemma is...
But that's an interesting point you brought up, the creativity part, because I've been listening to podcasts lately, and it's do you know the Brilliant Idiots? Do you know who Charlamagne the God is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Charlamagne the God and Andrew Schultz, he's a comedian, they do a podcast, and I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about how much effect using their phone and being on social media affects their creativity. It is such a drain, because if you create art and you care about what the other person, if you let the opinions of other people influence your art, therefore you're losing creativity. And that's what happens with social media. You're fucking scrolling through Instagram or whatever, you are automatically getting influenced by other people's opinions. Therefore, nothing is creative.
Do you mean like subconsciously or actually?
Probably both.
Both, yeah, I agree.
Probably both.
Yeah, that's why I sort of limit or I extremely control my intake of internet activity or like social media. Like the one thing I tell people throughout the United States elections was like I was trying to watch Alex Jones and Cenk Uygur, or TYT. I was trying to watch both of them because they're very contrasting, but they, like what I've come to realize, even though I have a slight bias towards one or the other, they both have valid points, and to be rational or to see the good in each, or even just to be a good person, you don't even have to think rationally. You have to see both sides of the argument. Like we said, there's always a pessimistic view and there's always a creative or optimistic view. Yeah.
What do you think about the fucking, going on a different fucking subject?
Change course here.
What do you think about that Donald Trump NFL thing?
It was a controversy under Obama too. I'm sure Trump, like he's done with many other things.
Controversy under Obama.
It was still controversial that Kaepernick was doing it, right? It just wasn't as huge.
I don't think he was doing it. Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was.
Oh, true.
Just to protest like the wars and stuff, which he has the right to do.
No, he's protesting black men getting shot by police officers.
Yeah, and also, in some sense, imperialism, like, you know what I mean?
I don't know if Colin Kaepernick is thinking that deep. I'd love to give him that credit, but I don't know if he's standing for that much of a, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, we'll just say police brutality and like, crime in the police force. Yeah, he has every right to protest. And so Trump, like he's done with everything else, has just inflamed the issue.
What do you think about the president of the United States telling owners that he should be fired?
Like that the owner should be fired, or Kaepernick should be fired?
Kaepernick should be fired because he is not standing for the flag.
This is sort of one of the things I think doesn't carry much weight, as a lot of things that come out of Donald Trump's mouth don't always carry weight.
Oh, what do you mean carry weight? It carries a shit ton of weight. Yes. Just because it comes out of his mouth.
In the circulation and like in the press and like what people think socially. But in terms of his personal conviction, I'm not sure if he actually believes that Kaepernick should be fired, because that's a violation of some sense of the Constitution.
So then why would he be doing it if he didn't believe that?
I think sometimes he's manic or chaos in terms of trying to distract people or just inflame and cause some chatter, because, you know, that's what he's been doing. That's how he got votes.
You see the video of he's like, you know, you see NFL ratings going down, and he's like looking at the crowd. He's like, because of yours truly, they're talking about me.
Yeah, earlier, you know, Jacob and Jacob were doing their homework, and Buddy was talking about how he needs current event headlines. One of them was the fact that North Korea and the address at the UN has caused Wall Street stocks to decrease because people are, you know, they're unsure, and that's again Donald Trump just affecting the economy by the words he's saying and like the circulation. But I don't think he personally, if you know, if we had a podcast with him, but then again, I can't speak for him. I'm not him. I'm not sure if he would completely hold true to his words. He seems like a flip-flopper or a weak execution of realpolitik.
Is there anyone who has a firm grasp on Donald Trump's psychology? Or is it just like a fucking enigma within this crazy...
I'm sure someone could spend their whole life studying what might or might not be going on in that man's brain.
It's just insane to me.
Crazy.
And it's like, I saw this dude at the gym the other day wearing a fucking InfoWars shirt. You see my Snapchat?
Yeah, I actually laughed at that, to be honest. I, like the balls to wear that, I guess. And,
what?
A funny shirt to wear at the gym.
I know. I've seen him with a Make America Great Again hat on, too. fucking, but like I always get that urge of wanting to ask him, like, I just want to understand what like, can you explain to me what attracts you, what, and I always I study the guy, kind of like I'm looking at him, and it's in my fucking extremely liberal left mind. That's my bias. I'm more of a centrist now than I ever was, probably thanks to you, realistically. And fucking, I see him doing kind things to visible minorities. Like, you know what I mean? He pulled out a couple of pieces of paper towel and he passed it to the kid, and like, it triggers my brain thinking that he should just be a racist, straight up fucking, because like, just a piece of shit, just because of all the shit that's happened. Like, how does someone who supports Donald Trump ignore all the like crazy shit?
I totally saw where you're going. How do you separate the bullshit from like these sort of badges of honor that he has occasionally throughout his career, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how you separate the madness from some good deeds that are spread out through his career. It's hard to say, like, because no matter what, like you said, your bias is going to come into play each time you see a headline about him, right? Because immediately, I think you probably just cycle through or what you already think about the man, and that's going to change depending on what you're reading, depending on what you're listening to, or whatever. So there is going to be some bias, but I don't know how you separate the two. I don't even know if you should, right? Because like some people like critical of philosophy, like criticals, so they are critical of the modern era, sort of like the colonial.
So what does that mean?
Like critical as in they question the philosophical foundations that were built in the colonial area.
So what's the colonial era?
Like,
give us a time
debatably
span.
like 1465 to like pre-World War I.
Okay, so you're talking the psychology?
Just like the philosophical revelations that they went through, you know, like the
Okay,
Renaissance,
like
the
what?
Enlightenment. Well, just like rationalization theory, and also that has a lot of.
So what's rationalization theory?
It's sort of the idea that you have to distinct on duty depending on what you want to do, and in order to act morally, you have to act according to your duty, like what you are obliged to do, because there's always a right decision. So people who think and adhere to rationalization theory believe there's some sort of cosmopolitan view, as in like there's universal truth. There's
universal like, morality.
Right. There's always one right decision.
Yeah.
And the problem is, depending on circumstances or culture or relationships, what is right may be different for me and for some other man out in Ottawa. Who knows? It could be different depending on culture, background, where I came from, relationships with others. So that's the dismissal or the critiques of believing there's universal truth in every action or every duty. The critique of that is sort of what we have in feminism, postmodernism, and dialogue, like discourse ethics.
So what do you mean, like explain that example of feminism?
Feminism rejects that only white men are rational and that only men in themselves are rational, because that's sort of what the colonial philosophers concluded. They said, only men are capable of rational thought, and that excludes women. And in doing that, you can't say, well, you say that women are not capable of being moral, and that's sort of not conventional. Like, that's not really what people believe in contemporary terms.
Okay, so I'm trying to wrap my mind around that. So these philosophical views created in the colonial times spurred these uprising.
Well, just people became critical of it after it sort of had its fallout in World War I and II, right? Pre-war. So pre-war era, they discovered all these things, or they thought they discovered some universal truth in terms of like morals and duty. And then after, we sort of scratched our heads in a long term of relevant or relative peace, and we became critical of what we were doing socially, right? We had like women's rights, universal suffrage, a lot of civil rights movements, right?
Yeah.
we question the way we laid out our society, which was laid out on rationalization theory in the modern era. So postmodernism, postmodernism. You'll see like Jordan Peterson be very critical of that.
And so Jordan Peterson is critical of the rationalization of our philosophy?
No. He's critical of postmodern theory, which is one of the critical theories. And the critical theories are what is sort of dismissing the modern era when people were colonial and such. Do you get what I mean?
Okay.
So modern era, people discover there's some sort of, or they think they discover some universal truth in the way you should act. Critique era, postmodern, which is after the World Wars, is where we sort of question all the rationalization basis that we have for society. So like universal suffrage, feminism, postmodernism, sort of believing in relative outcomes. And
so what is Jordan Peterson against? He's against acting or thinking critically?
Well, I don't know. He's self-proclaimed himself as a British liberal when he was accused of being far right.
Yeah.
That's what he adverted to in his defense. He said, I'm a British liberal. He didn't say it distinctly, but he said, I'm more like. So, in some sense, he said he is. That just means he still believes in some universal truth in terms of liberty, personal freedoms, and like individuality. That's what British liberals sort of refers to. So in some sense, he believes there is some universal truth. There is some right decision. There's meaning. That's like the main point he tries to get across. That's why
there's meaning in life.
That's why he's so like into religion and like these phallic stories, because they pass on meaning, right? If you go on his YouTube channel, he does like a like religion breakdown, because he's trying to find the truth in each story that's somehow relatable, right?
True. So he and I've like listened to a lot of Jordan Peterson. So what you're saying is he is so this is an example. He believes that there is truth in gender roles.
Perhaps. I'm not sure. I can't comment, but that's an example. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a quote unquote universal truth. Like men and women are not equal.
Well, perhaps
they're equal, but they're different.
So disclaimer, we're not trying to slander Jordan Peterson here. We're just throwing out hypotheticals.
Who gives a fuck? He can handle it.
Yeah, you're right. So it's like an example of a universal statement. Yeah.
Okay. So that makes sense. So, with all this fucking philosophical back and forth, where is this gonna lead us?
Who knows? I guess.
When is it gonna lead to more divisiveness? Is it gonna lead to more divisiveness between the SJWs, these social justice warriors out here, and the far right? Even though there's not that much missing, that link is gonna further and further apart.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have to take a break soon. I gotta
piss.
I drank too much.
Okay, no, that's all good.
But I'll finish on this point. That's a very good point that you realize that there's not much difference between the far right and the far left.
There really isn't.
And to
other than outrage,
to qualify this, like to back this up, I was actually at a professor's office hours the other day just to discuss like what her summer was like, whatever, and just talk about.
Is she hot?
Oh, you actually might be interested in.
Is she hot?
No. Well, I wouldn't find her attractive. Okay. Maybe she's just someone else. Anyway, so what you might be interested in, what the listeners might be interested in, I might be doing my international requirement. I have to do it for my 4-year program.
Okay, so what's an international requirement? You go like
travel,
a placement?
Like a placement, basically. So she teaches a course in the Netherlands, and we do a bunch of excursions for 2 weeks. And the Netherlands is like the base of European bureaucracy.
Okay.
So I went to talk to her about the course, what it's like. Anyway, I was sort of reflecting on what I went through during the elections, because we had some heavy bants, to be honest. Like, we had some good talks.
Yeah, we definitely did.
It really made me think internally, like, who I am, and question my beliefs, as I'm sure it might have for you. But
yeah, 100%.
You said you became more centrist, and I probably did as well, because, you know, we all have our bias. And
you were all right, Luke. All right, Luke for a couple months.
I was consumed a bit, yeah. And it really made me think about who I am, and it makes you stronger when you go through adversity. But what she said is, Luke, it's a very good thing and very like bird's eye view that you realize there's not much difference between the two. Yeah. And the way she pointed this out is because before the election, I was sort of leaning towards Bernie Sanders because I do believe socialism has merit if it's properly managed. Yeah. In some cases throughout history, it's been poorly. But I'm not saying I could be better. I'm saying it like Scandinavian countries do a really good job, but that's circumstantial. They're a different country than us.
Yeah. So wait, let me get this.
Can I continue on the Bernie Sanders point?
Okay. Yeah.
So I made my parents do, and my sisters. Vu, which is weird. I made my sisters and my family do a social democrat evaluation quiz to see where you were in terms of agreeing with Bernie Sanders, and all my family agreed on a strong majority, like even myself included, before the elections. Yeah. And that could be because we're Canadian. We sort of have social British, like the British do as well, like in terms of social.
Yeah, well, Canada is a very different culture than America.
The United States. Yeah, that's my point.
It's a very different culture.
So I was sort of leaning towards Bernie Sanders at the beginning, and I don't know when it changed and when I realized that there might be a chance for the other sort of form of radical change. And that's the thing that I noticed was similar in both cases. Yeah. It was the radical change, and that's where the similarity is between the left and the right. It's people getting tired of the sort of the status quo.
Yeah. Well, exactly. That's
a revelation we've both gone through in the recent years, which is good, right? In terms of progress in our own lives.
Like you said before, it's always good to question yourself. Yeah. It's always good to surround yourself with people with different perspectives.
Opposing views, yeah.
Exactly. And it goes back to this whole bullshit of why we're even in this mess is this like Facebook. You click like on what you want and you're going to get more of that, right? You're stuck in your own vacuum chamber of information. And when you have conversations like we had, so very opposing ideas, but still hashing it out and still like getting to just figuring out ideas, that is very, very important. Going back to that fucking thing that I want to say about fucking Bernie, it's like it all requires context. That's why I was talking to you about fucking, I hate the labels. I hate the socialism, communism. You can't communism, capitalism, they're not bad ideas. They're just poorly executed. I don't know who I was listening to, and it's like, it's not. There was some dude. It was like a billionaire real estate. He was billionaire. I don't know, but he was having an interview, and he's like, he got asked a question, "What is wrong with capitalism?" And he said, "I don't think there's anything wrong with capitalism. There is something wrong with human nature." And I think that's like a revelation I had. It's not, there's nothing wrong with socialism. There's something wrong with human nature. There's nothing wrong with communism. There's something wrong with human nature. Stalin was a terrible person.
Yo, keep going. I'm actually going to keep listening. I got to grab a pen.
What?
Just jotting down. I had a thought.
Okay, sure.
But I want to keep listening because you're on a good point.
Okay, well, okay. Yeah, so.
Stalin is a bad person.
Well, it all comes down to contextual. It all comes down to context. If Bernie Sanders could create a great system, but if he's a piece of shit, he could turn it very bad.
Yeah.
With the tools he has, with the power he has, that's why people are scared of government, right? That's why there's a big libertarian movement. That's why that shit's real, because people are afraid of what the government can do because of what it has done in the past.
Yeah, and like you sort of look at things and where it's gone bad in the past, things like systems like communism, capitalism. There's always times when systems fail, and it's contextual, like you said.
Yeah, and that's why it fucking triggered, dude. What was it, Guillaume?
Oh, Guillaume, GBT.
It was like socialism. I don't know what I said. I said something fucking trolly.
Yeah.
And he was like, actually, sir, is socialism? And I totally agree with him, because it's like, it is all contextual. There are obviously issues and flaws with certain ideologies. That's always going to happen. I don't think we'll ever find the perfect ideology. we're never gonna be God. We'll never understand.
We're not perfect.
No, exactly. I think it's impossible to be, right? There's no angel without a devil, right? There's always that yin and yang.
Just like you said earlier, like the optimistic and the pessimistic, we've sort of kept that theme, right? The yin and yang of finding a balance, yeah.
I think it's impossible not to have it, right?
It's just the order of life.
Yeah.
And we are absent in the pure essence. Like, we are not perfect.
Yeah.
But in some ways, we can access what is close to perfect or par
excellence. We can always
excellence.
get better.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We can always get better. We can always get closer to being at a more ideal state. But is that giving into universalism? And
what's universalism?
Like the rationalist thinkers, right? They believe in universality. Is that giving into some ways? Because you're sort of still believing in the objective truth that there's always something better.
So it's an interesting thought because, like, I don't know, but are we going to be more functional as a species if we all row the same boat, or if we're in different boats going different ways? Which way are we going to get to where we want to go, and where do we want to go?
It's a good question, and I think I can maybe ask some other questions which would help us get deeper into that topic, but yeah. I gotta piss.
Okay, we'll take a break. All right, we're back.
Yo.
After a joint. Beep. Cut that beep part out. I'm just gonna leave it a joint and a beep.
Evan had 2 combustion papers in his hands, chain smoking.
Yes, sir.
Big guy.
Yeah, but when I was out there, Luke brought up this memory of back in the day, and then I was like, wow, I didn't introduce Luke right on the podcast because I just said I'm a Muskoka native, but like we've been friends since, I don't know, what was the year? When did me and my brother walk by you and Jared Scriven out in the front lawn while you were digging a ditch or something? You look like assholes.
Maybe grade 2 or 3. 8 or 9, I guess, or 7.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while.
It's crazy, though. I literally just thought about that when we were outside. I was like, damn, that's crazy.
Yo, remember the igloo we built?
No.
Yo, shout out to Jared Scriven. We built an igloo when I was like 8 or 9 years old. It was so dangerous, but so cool.
That's so funny. Do you remember making snow forts?
Oh yeah.
That shit was so fun. We are blessed to live in 4 seasons. Kids don't know what it's like to make snow forts.
Fair point. It's a lot of fun, and like jumping in leaves too. You know, there's good in each season.
You talked about going to ESL earlier. Do you plan on not living in Canada?
Well, I could do it online. Someone I know actually right now is teaching it online, but from international students. So you know what I mean. They could all reside in one area. Theoretically, but I'd like to be there because, like, what I mentioned was a twofold like experience. Like, I get to teach and test my abilities in English, right? But I also get to absorb the culture.
And my mother always says, "Fucking traveling's the best education."
Experience, yeah, I think
exactly. Just going and literally and being a part of other cultures. That is, I've had a couple conversations in the past couple weeks, and that is like a conversation topic that has been coming up. Me and Jacob had a conversation the other day, and he's like, I appreciate Jacob because we have such an honest relationship. And fucking, he's like, I feel like uncultured, like, you know what I mean? I feel like ignorant to cultures when I'm here, like, talking to some people, and he asks questions. He's very good at asking questions, and he's like interested. but I feel like that helps so much. Like, do you think of hip hop as something that introduced you into a different culture? Because I credit that. That was something foreign to me that I really got into and really loved, and it was a different culture.
Kind of.
I feel like I'm more socially fluent in the city.
You sort of visited the city too, didn't you, when you were younger?
Yeah, I did.
Like for like badminton, like visiting family.
True.
You're pretty
I guess sports.
navigatable in the city. As we found out in first year, I could not navigate buses.
Yeah, but that was my first time taking a bus too.
Yo, so that tournament with Chris Murphy.
Yo, I saw a picture of him the other day. He's definitely someone I want to see soon.
Fuck, he's a beauty.
What?
Fuck, he's a beauty.
He was like such a... Me and him... I remember back in the day when me and him would have sleepovers and fucking... We would like talk about religion. We were like in grade 1. Like grade 2, and we'd have sleepovers, and he'd be like, I want to... Because Kevin Eyre, our friend, was really religious. And
Can't
Chris,
confirm.
Well, okay, yeah. I went to church with that kid sometimes.
I think my parents knew a relative of his, and so I just assumed they were similar.
Yeah, so he's religious, and Chris once called him out. We were doing track and field. Chris is like, churches are a waste of money. Like, this was like talk like back in the day, and I'd have like conversations about how Chris should approach that situation. It was just, I'm thinking back to that shit's wild. I love Chris Murphy because his dad taught me a lot too. Like they're just they're like atheists basically, and they declare themselves as atheists.
Well, I always noticed that about his dad. He was always very like introspective, but also very grand thinking. Like he was a substitute teacher, right?
Very interesting. Yeah, he was a good guy.
Did you ever talk to him and have some good conversation?
Never like as adult, but he was a good guy. He never treated me badly, never treated anyone badly.
Yeah, he was always really nice.
Yeah.
Like as a parent that I knew, like of a teammate or someone I knew through sports, he was one of like top five.
Yeah. You know what else?
Such a nice guy.
You know what else me and Chris did? We were the first, me and him. It sounds super gay. It will sound even gay. So he was the first friend I showed my dick to. You know what I mean? Like when we were that young, we were comparing dicks and shit.
You told me some other story about seeing like someone else's nude body parts.
Of course.
When you're younger, it's kind of fucking fun.
Oh, that one's... There's no names that can be said. That's a good one. I just clicked in what you were saying.
That's a bond right there, I guess. So with Chris Murphy.
Yeah, no, for real. That was some real shit. Some interesting conversations. His dad got me into like astronomy, like, you know how he'd come and substitute classes and he'd
go off
like,
on different topics.
He would be like, I'm not teaching you the curriculum today, like this is not gonna happen, so I brought some of my own shit. And he would like watch or make us watch fucking space documentaries.
Do you think that's something teachers present day possibly lack, or like is that a positive trait in teachers to sort of disregard the curriculum and go off on like some explorative topic?
So this goes back to the question. It doesn't go back to fucking because the question has been asked. Yeah, but it goes to the question of: do you think teachers are doing a good job?
A very common social question. Like people are always questioning the teachers and the education.
I feel like they're not questioning them enough.
You're very critical, eh?
Of that. That's one of the fucking beams in the house that's holding this entire thing up. If that's shitty, the house is falling over.
You know what? You're exactly right.
God bless.
It's the basis. Education, right? Like this. That's like the simplest answer when some people like ask, "Oh, what's wrong with how can we change How can we improve conditions? Insert place. Like education. You start there.
Exactly. So what do we think? Our teachers doing a good enough job?
Serious question though.
This would be an interesting conversation about my mom.
I know she's very critical of teachers.
Yeah.
That's
so what do you think about?
To put it simply and briefly, believe it's Socrates or Plato, one of the Greek classics, who says there are two most noble professions: being a teacher or being a doctor.
Yep. God bless both of them.
I could be wrong on the quote there, verbatim.
Yeah, So, sorry, what was the beginning part of that quote?
Just there's two most noble professions.
Yeah, so do you think they're treated as noble professions nowadays?
I think it's a noble profession to teach.
In your perspective, but do you think it's taken like that?
In terms of how it's executed today?
Yeah.
Probably not.
So explain, dude. I asked a fucking question and you've taken 20 million minutes to answer. Are teachers doing a good job nowadays? Or like, do you think it's a high...
In summary, no.
Okay, well, explain.
But I believe it's a valuable job that deserves the best candidates. So it should be prioritized. I don't think it's being executed very well today.
Yeah, I agree. There needs to be more.
I think good teachers get paid enough, but like some need to pick up the slack. And maybe that's admittance. Maybe they just need better like recruitment or better education to get teachers to where they need to be to teach in the contemporary time.
Yeah, and I believe there's a lot of like inspiration missing from the curriculum. There's a lot of
Murphy missing from the curriculum.
Yeah, and even like greater than that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, but part of that, like Elon Musk said, if teachers were doing it right, their curriculum would involve like one day you'll be able to use this math equation and build like a rocket. Like he did, you know what I mean? Like this is how this is applicable. Like that was the fucking never-ending story back in the day. Like, we're not even gonna fucking use this in life. Like blah blah blah. That was what everybody said. That was.
He shocked a lot of people. Yeah.
Who?
Elon Musk.
Yeah, I did. He's a genius. He is
big come up,
bro. An argument I fucking have now is if he's on track with what he's doing and does what he does, he is going to be the most influential person in human history, hands down.
Yeah, possible thus far. Yeah,
that's gonna be that. If everybody,
speaking of legacy, as we spoke outside.
Yeah, no, literally. And if everybody's driving electric cars, if everybody has solar panel roofs, if he merges AI with the brain, if he goes to Mars and creates a colony on Mars like he's planning.
Do you think he will?
Yeah.
Probably.
When has that man failed us?
Probably pretty big legacy.
And he's young. I don't know how old he is.
He's got some life to live.
Like 100%. So we were talking outside that I wanted to go on about fucking
legacy.
Legacy is an interesting one. We can get on the legacy, but fucking how much play is money and motivation?
Money is the root of all people, but the root of all evil, and makes the world go round.
Is that a Joey Badass quote?
A few quotes in one sentence.
Yeah, true.
Just a mix match of quotes. But I think they're all applicable in a sense.
Okay, so...
And some truth behind the quotes, yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't really answer the question.
What do I think of money?
How much play is money and motivation?
How much does money play in motivation.
Yeah.
It can be a lot for some people. Like, I mean, some people aren't always motivated by the money. Like, you know what I mean? Passion, like you said earlier. But money for some people is like more tangible than passion, right?
Yeah. That Joe Rogan fucking convinced me of that theory too. Like I used to always think like money shouldn't be a motivation. But now I'm thinking, fuck it, whatever the motivation is, as long as you get to where you're going and it's positive.
Yeah, I think the motivation should still be for what you have to do and like duty.
But why?
Because do the means always justify the ends? If I do something that's right, but it's for the wrong meaning or the wrong like motive, is it still justifiable?
If you do the right thing for the wrong motive?
Yeah. Your intent is okay or good in motive, like in terms of why you want to do it.
Backwards, then.
No. I'm just explaining it in terms of you might understand.
No, I think you said you said it the other way.
the other way. Okay. So money is a motivation and
see, I was such a socialist before, bro. I was such a socialist.
Well, you started watching that one YouTube guy who I said was crazy or at least extremely hyperactive. The guy who like does flip challenges, like you know how much you can flip and make money during a day.
Oh, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Or like the Gary guy.
Yeah. Yeah, but what does that have to do with this?
It probably might have something to do with your shift. Like he's very entrepreneurial and currency motivated, and so that had an influence on you, like we were saying earlier. You know what you consume, and
I don't really consume him much anymore, though.
No, but like you did.
You think it was that much of an impact? That's interesting.
Well, it's just something I noticed. I'm not saying it was a huge impact on, but it could have been. It's just something I noticed.
True. That's interesting. You don't really think about the impact that shit could have subconsciously that you take in.
Well, yeah.
It's an interesting thought. But what were you talking about even before that?
Oh, when I subverted you were saying it backwards.
No, after that.
After I don't know.
How did you get to Gary Vaynerchuk?
Oh, changing mindset into money motivation.
Okay, yeah. And I don't know, there's just been, that's a motivator. I've learned in my life that that's a motivator. I can't just pretend like that's not even a real thing because it's just I don't understand it.
Do you like to work?
I do like to work.
Well, then.
My favorite thing.
You must like the reward then. You know, it was like really reward driven. One of my roommates last year.
Really?
He was very tight about fiscal means. Anyway, like fiscal means like money matters. And anyway, it can be a huge motivator. Like if you're expecting that reward from your work that you put in.
Yeah.
And if you enjoy doing work and it's and if you enjoy work in itself, like I mean, money comes easier.
Because I used to think it was a bad thing too. It's like you can't get money from motivation from money.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But you gotta use your money and invest in yourself, right? Like that's not really putting it towards a bad thing. Like you're not investing in some malign thing in what you could be investing in, like Jacob investing in like marijuana. You know, that's putting the money towards okay use.
Yeah.
It's not like you're consuming alcohol like all day or like becoming a crackhead, like you're spending your money
doing
on
heroin on the street.
Not good things. Yeah, okay.
Getting your dick sucked through a chain link fence.
Spend your money however you want, people, but yeah,
it's interesting. So what are your dreams, Luke? I asked you kind of what you want to do, and you wanted said English as a second language. But is there anything that like what does that look like, and how far are you thinking ahead?
Well, I try not to think too far ahead. That's
Yeah.
not always the best thing to really think about all the time. But, occasionally you start planning or you think. Sometimes it's natural to think ahead, but...
I feel like I think ahead because I'm scared of that time. And it makes me feel better thinking about the good times I'll have later then, because I feel like it's going to be like scary and shit.
That's anxiety.
Yeah. It doesn't really affect me that much, obviously. Like, it doesn't really like have a toll on my life thinking about that, but that's a thought that I have.
Oh yeah, it comes up.
Yeah. I can't imagine getting old.
You think it would be unbearable and you'd be thinking about different times
No,
too
I don't
much?
think it would be unbearable, but it's gonna be weird.
It'd be different thinking about what you'll be like in that age.
And like being on the brink of death.
You contemplate death?
I do contemplate death. Do you contemplate death?
Do you sleep a lot?
Not deathing myself.
No, but like just death as a topic.
100%.
You struggle with the chains of mortality.
I don't know if I struggle with it. I certainly don't want to end, but it's definitely a common thought in my brain. I don't know. I've heard two different opinions, and it's like there's a lot of psychologists that say it's healthy to think about death, and then there's some that say, well, why would you ever think about it?
Yeah, I don't really think about death. Sometimes I think about the cycle of like rebirth and regeneration, but that involves human death, right?
So
in
what
a way,
do you mean
right?
Rebirth? In what way?
Like I said earlier, you're a star. You are star dust, the collection of matter, loosely attracted to a center of gravity, I guess. Loosely as in like there's space between your atoms.
Yeah.
Anyway. We are stardust, so eventually we decay into something else, just like the trees and the forest fires. We then give life to another somehow.
So do you believe in resurrection?
I'm not sure what I believe in, but that's just something I try to keep in the back of my pocket.
You think about it.
Life regenerates, and so our purpose of being a life is to make life regenerate.
Yeah. In episode 7, me and my buddy talked about this, this surgery that's going to happen where the dude's getting a head transplant.
Yeah.
Where do you think consciousness lives within the human body?
I think it's not isolated to one singular hotbed in the body.
So you don't think it's totally connected to the brain and that's it? That's the only place it lives?
A simple refute to that would be if we take into consideration the connection between your immune system, which lives in your stomach, and your brain, and people can go on and on about the food you eat and the connection it has to your brain.
It's unbelievable.
So I don't think you can separate the mind and skull from the body and be without consequence or the need for adaptations or certain tweaks. Yeah. So I mean, do your science. Good luck.
Yeah, and think about how crazy that is, because that's a question that might be answered within this moment. Where consciousness lives.
Theoretically, yeah. But then how do you define consciousness, right?
Exactly. What is going to be the reaction of this circumstance? And that's why
you're concerned about the social repercussions?
No, I'm just curious about the answer, because that's gonna be crazy.
Oh yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Think about how deep we're getting in this shit.
Yeah, but people were going on about rockets and how out of this world that was, but this is to another level.
Exactly, that was 50 years ago.
Hyperactivity produces
exponential growth,
exponential jumps, right? In terms of achievement.
Yeah. And is that capitalism too? Is that the money motivator like we were talking about?
I think laziness is a huge motivator too. That's what technology has sort of done its best to do, make us comfortable, and sort of enables laziness, effortless.
Efficiency.
Efficiency, yeah.
Efficiency to the maximum point, but it doesn't know that we have to do shit in order to keep the way we are.
Yeah, there's some form of loss or adaptation when you take on new technology. There's also a hybridization or increase in power in some cases. Like technology is varied throughout time.
So what do you mean varied throughout time?
Well, some would say being conscious of carrying a weapon or adhering to gun laws may make society safer. And so like maybe they're more peace viewing or trying to be more public spaces are commons. I shouldn't be threatening or carrying a weapon which could seriously injure or kill someone, to the different view, which is like if you're carrying a weapon, somehow it's your right or you're entitled to protection or to hunt or whatever they used to justify it. That's sort of a way technology has changed. People have acted throughout the day, I guess.
But how? How is that connected to technology?
Because firearms, combustion, propulsion through like the gun, right? Firing lead to firing very accurate and like minimal effort assault rifles, right? Like hair triggers where you barely move your body, right? And you could kill from a distance away.
And then nukes.
Right, and it changes the social atmosphere, like the way technology influences people. Those are weapons, but like the way we just drink our water, right? If you invented like the glass, or you thought of having a glass or a mug and then storing your water as opposed to like walking to a river, as you know, maybe like you see in the Jungle Book, like all the animals going to the water. Drinking that way, it's different.
Yeah, well, extremely.
And thinking about how the boy in Jungle Book, you know, he becomes isolated and he behaves differently socially because he has these tools.
So,
and he's sort of seen as lazy or not good enough by the jaguar, who's the wise hunter, like not the shepherd, but sort of in the movie wizard and in the book, like sort of the wizard or wise man of the story.
Yeah, I'm not following.
It makes you lazy, and then people, or like what you should be, becomes critical of your current state of laziness through an adaptation of a technology.
I'm not following.
That's okay. It's all recorded.
Fucking. It will make us lazy. When are we gonna adapt to it, or is it gonna? I
think like in the Jungle Book, we have to decide when technology and innovation.
In the Jungle Book analogy, I don't understand it.
That's fine. Well, our listeners who like Disney and Jungle Book will understand.
No, stop.
So at the end of Jungle Book, he discovers the fire is something he shouldn't.
Okay, this is irrelevant information. I'm getting distracted by it right now.
You think it's irrelevant because you don't understand it.
Exactly.
It's quite ignorant of you, sir.
Why? This is a conversation between me and you.
Well, it's a conversation where you let people speak and not interrupt them when they're explaining an analogy. Just because you disagree with it or don't understand it doesn't mean you have the right to interrupt me.
It's just really distracting.
Distracting to what?
To the point that you're trying to get across.
Well, if you'd listen and let me explain my point, you might get there.
I know, but like it's hard. It's hard for me.
Are you stretching your mind right now?
Yeah, it's hard. I'm thinking about the Jungle Book, and I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Talking about technology and the adaptation and what it does for social repercussions.
Okay.
So, in the end of the Jungle Book, the boy discovers that fire, a technology innovation or just like an adaptation to enhance laziness, essentially, right? Because you can cook your food, you can have warmth.
Not really laziness.
But efficiency, right?
Efficiency.
So he discovers something he shouldn't wield loosely or like without consequence or without... Because he ends up burning part of the jungle.
Okay.
And so you go through these social changes and you have to ask yourself through the consequence or through the use of the technology, is it benefiting you or is it making you just lazy and careless?
How will we know?
By your consequences, you have to ask yourself, I guess.
So have we felt those repercussions yet of social media?
I don't know. Some people have, right? Like people who are like heavy into projecting vegan diet or like projecting about like GMOs or chemtrails, or like people who project what technology is sort of at the cusp at right now.
But is
at
that really,
technology's apogee, people become questionable.
But people,
of what's going
what
on.
do you think people would be doing that in person? Those type of people, just because we can see them now, just.
Do I think those type of people would be doing that in person?
They'd be projecting. They'd be projecting their personality in person. You know what I mean?
Oh, maybe not. I think people who are less open and less like able to speak better in person would have the advantage compared to now when we can be hyperactive on the internet and project easier. So people who project easier definitely would have the upper hand as opposed to people who cannot, because the internet has helped them.
Okay.
Like having Twitter makes it easier for a president to get his message across, or like tweet.
Yeah, but what were you just talking about before that?
How you project certain ideals, I guess, because...
Well, no, I asked how it has negatively... Are there negative repercussions? So you're saying people projecting ideas over social media is a negative repercussion of social media?
No, I'm saying just a repercussion, and then you have to decide whether it's good or bad based on context, I guess.
True. So is that really impactful in the grand scheme of things, or do you think this would be happening regardless?
Is what impactful?
Whatever you're projecting on social media. I guess it is. You have
to decide, right? Like that's what you have to decide. Is it impactful? And if it is it for the good or bad?
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, think about Trump.
Well, it's impactful, but is it for the good or bad? Like we can agree that it has an impact.
Yeah. And then it goes back to, is there a good and bad?
So it's just like the Jungle Book boy. He has to decide whether it's good or bad.
That's interesting. I was talking to my fucking coworker the other day, and he was telling me that, so we were having a conversation, and he was talking about opinions, and like everybody lives in their own reality.
Yeah, okay. Go on.
And I was arguing that there's a base reality we live in. We don't live in a world of alternative facts. You know what I mean? There is a base reality within our own realities, or the outside of our own realities.
So there is some essence of what reality ought to be. There is some ideal form of reality, and that your subjective view of it is not what it is essentially, right? There's a different essence than what you perceive reality to be.
Sure.
I think we're on the same track now.
Think about everybody. Like, it's just the world. It's like we all have our own, but there is the world. The world is not a projection of your own reality.
Right.
Like there's a base we live in. There's another. And he was like, no, everybody. I feel like I had that mindset back in the day.
And now you don't anymore?
Now I have there is a base reality for things. A very base reality. And you need to play within the base reality in order to do anything. Rather than thinking you're on your own world, because that's just naive.
You got to go through the doors that open in front of you, right? You got to look around and smell the roses.
Yeah, no, literally. I always talk about that fucking Simpsons fucking... Do you remember the Simpsons movie?
The movie, yeah. What's he?
So it's him with the big titty native lady, and she makes him drink the ayahuasca or whatever, and Throat sings with him, and he has this epiphany. Yeah. And you remember the scary trees?
Yeah.
Pulling them apart, and they're like, "Why should you go back to fucking? Or you need to go back to Springfield?" And he's like, no, fuck them, whatever he said, I don't know verbatim. But and then he realizes as he's getting ripped apart, they're ripping his fucking eyes out and shit. And he says, I am nothing without them. So it's like, I always bring that up. Like, because that was something I didn't understand back in the day. And now I got finally. And that kind of goes back to our base reality.
That's good. You're able to admit that like you didn't understand something, and like now you're onto this new idea that's sort of changed the way you view things.
100%. I had no idea. I was like, what the fuck has made it be such a big scene? But I don't get it. But now I get it.
Nice.
I'm so much more interested. I used to be distracted by thoughts I had. And I'm so much more interested now in just everyday life and like people and moments in my life from a little bit ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, are you being more reflective lately, I guess?
It's not even being more reflective, it's just being more present.
Living in the moment, I guess.
Yeah, it's like just being more present. And I think like it was a stupid little memory. It was me biking home from work, and my buddy was like, he's a goofy kid. His name's Shay. I hope he's listening. I love him. And he was like sprinting, and Shay is a kid that you could never imagine sprinting. And I was just racing home with him down fucking Meadowland. No, it was down. I don't remember. It doesn't even matter. But he was biking down. It's just like a little memory. And like that made me smile today when I thought of it, because I biked past the thing. I was like, that wouldn't have happened before. You know what I mean? Like it's a different.
Yeah, we sort of associate emotions with like the good moments of our life, and when we recall those moments.
But I wouldn't even been paying attention to that. I would have been like, who cares? Like that's nothing compared to what. Well, like that's nothing in the grand. Like why does that even matter? But now it's like I don't know what happened. But I literally had that reflective moment today. I don't know how we got to that. But it was it's just an interesting, just being present and being. I got to that because I'm starting to understand how important relationships are with other people. Like that's the most precious moments. There's nothing on the TV or on the music that is more powerful than like what you can
human connection.
Yeah, than what you can live.
Yeah, experience.
Yeah, and it's like you are, and it goes back to that fucking. It's the Simpsons quote: "You are nothing without other people," and that's made me appreciate life more. I don't know how I got off onto this tangent.
Do you think it's natural for people to survive like extended periods of time without that human connection or that other people?
Man, it'd be so wild. Can you imagine going into the woods by yourself for 5 days? I can't. That'd be insane with no connection with anybody.
I think I could.
I think it would be harder than you'd expect.
Like I could stay at my cottage for 5 days by myself.
Yeah.
Without contact, probably, but I don't know, somewhere else, like just in the woods, pitching a tent.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I think it would be really hard.
Yeah, it would be really hard. That's good for you to admit. Yeah, maybe I'm being egotistical and saying, "Oh yeah, I can do anything."
Oh, maybe you can though.
But maybe I could. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be an interesting test, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be weird because we are tribal people. We're tribal animals.
We're social animals, yeah, for sure.
That's just like that's in the base reality. That is the base reality we live in. That is not an alternative fact. That is a fact. There's nothing that can dispute that just because.
We are social creatures, yeah.
Yeah. That's how we evolved. Are we ever going to figure out, like, it goes back to that consciousness thing we were talking about. Like, are we going to ever figure out what consciousness is?
What it is, or the limits, or where it is, where it resides? Like, just the questions to consciousness?
Yeah.
Will there be like
Does consciousness live within cells?
I don't know. That's a very tough question. I couldn't really tell you, but
yeah, it's a very tough question. It's an interesting question.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
are you religious at all? You're not religious, are you? It's weird that I've never asked you that question.
Religious in a certain sense. To some people, I might be, because I went to like not a private school, but like a religious oriented school for a bit when I was younger.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because I was explicitly religious. And some of my family members or grandparents have religious affiliations, but I wouldn't say I'm like overtly religious, no.
Yeah, Catholics have the most money. They have the best schools.
You think? They're government funded, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Peace.
Bye.
Yeah. I didn't know that religion's crazy. I never asked you that before, though. I don't know why I asked you that.
It's a common question nowadays. People
Yeah, but
question
what were we talking about
religious
before?
affiliation.
I can't do these anymore. when I
Base
get
reality.
baked.
You were talking about a base reality in which is separate from everyone's like subjective view of the world.
Yeah, but it was deeper than that. We were on a tangent.
I got the general.
Okay, yeah. Well, we figured out. I guess
And then you're like, man, are you
I
religious?
guess-
Like,
that goodbye right there was a sign. Yeah, well, we're gonna do another one.
any last words?
Actually, before we go, I want to ask you about the journal. Do you journal every day?
Not every day, no. Just like important dates or pivotal moments I find in my life.
True. How do you know what's a pivotal moment in your life?
You have time to write it, and you're reflecting possibly, or it's shortly after the moment. It's whenever you feel is appropriate.
Okay, so yeah, I feel like I don't notice the most pivotal moments in my life. I don't notice them.
Maybe you just don't remember them. I'm sure you notice them. That's why I write them down.
True. So you don't. It's not a thing you do in the morning.
No, I don't do it every day, but sometimes I'll do like a daily or like 2-day journal.
Yeah.
So like Wednesday, I have my day planned with like at least 3 things that I need to do.
True. Yeah, like a to-do list.
Yeah, it's good to do it every once in a while. It's not something I'm
I
like
really
extremely
need to do
regimented
it,
at
bro.
doing, but like it's helpful every once in a while.
I need to do it.
Something everyone
Something
on
that's been
out
on
there
my
who's
mind.
listening could probably take a few notes from,
100%. Writing a to-do list, I feel like would increase my activity 1,000,000 times.
Another thing I like to think about is being nicer to the morning you, trying to prepare better for the morning rather than saying,
No, exactly.
yeah, I'll do it tomorrow morning.
I was asking about the journal because there's journaling has been coming up a lot in my life, and I've just been hearing. I've done it a couple times, but it's just writing down just for 2 pages of just bullshit. You can do whatever comes to mind, but it's like also write down what you appreciate and what you're grateful for in the morning, because that's how it's being nicer to your morning self. And like doing that little moment of reminder of what you appreciate. And it's just like a good way to get the day going. I need to get into it. I need to write a to-do list and write a fucking morning journal.
Be a good way to get into it, yeah.
Yeah, my mom's talked to me about it. My dad's talked to me about it. I listen to fucking Tim Ferriss, he talks about it. To listen to Joe Rogan, he talks about it. Everyone. A fucking morning journal. Or just a journal.
Start right now by writing it, put it into permanence, and say, I'm going to start a journal. The action itself makes it eternal.
Fucking.
All you have to do is take the first step. The rest is inertia.
You know what's crazy? Technology has made this eternal.
We are eternal.
Oh, Beavis.
Shut up, butthead.
All right. That's what I wanted to ask you about. Yo, that's so classy. I need to watch that again.
Changed my life, that movie.
All right. Peace, dudes.
Peace out.